What's up, everyone? My name is Dr. Amelia H. Wheeler, and I'm excited to be here celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week with you by offering this webinar called Teacher Appreciation from Moment to Movement. I'm a proud former high school social studies teacher who now has the honor of serving as a professor of curriculum instruction, where my research focuses on understanding and improving the working lives of teachers. And I want to start today by reading one of my favorite poems. It's called Small Kindnesses by Danusha Lamaris, and it goes like this. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by, or how strangers still say bless you when someone sneezes, a leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we're saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and to say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them and for them to smile back, for the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire. Only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy, these fleeting temples we make together when we say, here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. I like your hat. And I wanted to read that because in a world that feels increasingly weighty, I posit that kindness and appreciation can be transformational, that they're not peripheral, but essential in creating the world that we want to see. And so that's why we're here today. We're here to celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week, but also to use it as a time to reflect on how we can move from symbolic acts of appreciation to creating a system where appreciation is embedded, it's systemic. So, in today's journey, we're going to learn about how the public actually does support teachers, but despite that, teachers don't feel appreciated. And we'll go over some of the historic and economic political reasons for this gap. Then we'll review the costs for not appreciating teachers, as well as the dividends that we reap when teachers are appreciated in a sustained way, before going over a blueprint for how we can embed appreciation into our public education system. So, point number one, the public does support teachers. So, public opinion data shows again and again that people do support teachers. So, for example, in a Gallup 2023 study, 90% of respondents rated their child's teacher as excellent, good, or fair, with only 7% ranking the teacher as poor. In a 2022 public opinion survey, 95% of people agreed teachers are essential to their community, 89% agreed that teachers deserved more respect, and 88% supported a pay raise for teachers. So, overall, the public overwhelmingly values teachers, even if the system doesn't always reflect it. So, point number two is that while the public appreciates teachers, teachers do not feel appreciated. So, in a survey conducted by EdWeek in 2024, 68% of teachers said they feel like the public views them negatively, while a global study of teachers found that 80% of teachers worldwide feel undervalued. And there's some reasons why teachers might not feel appreciated. One comes down to economics. Teachers earn 14.1% less than their peers with similar college degrees, and this wage gap has actually widened by 11% since the 1990s. So, one way to look at this is that after adjusting for inflation, the starting salary for teachers are now over $4,000 lower than they were in 2008. So, on top of diminishing pay, another reason teachers might not feel appreciated is that they have increasing workloads and mounting stress. So, teachers work more average hours a year than their international peers. And on top of that, 73% of teachers report frequent job related stress, according to a RAND survey conducted in 2022, which is higher than other high stress jobs such as nurses and CEOs. And additionally, while teachers are facing diminishing wages, mounting workload, and stress, they're also facing new pressures. So, teachers often report they feel scapegoated or blamed for quote unquote failing schools under standardized tests. And teachers are also facing increasing accusation of things like indoctrination in a way that has been politicizing the profession. So, a takeaway would be that teachers are carrying heavy loads with less pay, more work, and increasing public scrutiny in a way that's leaving them feeling unappreciated, despite the fact that the public does appreciate teachers. So that leads us to our next point. Why is there this disconnect? Why is there this gap? Well, one reason could be for historic reasons. So, before the advent of public schools, teaching was actually considered a job for men. And so, when women sought to enter the profession while public schools opened in the 19th century, it was made through appeals to the fact that, first of all, women could be paid less, and that they would be expected to be submissive, and the myth that teaching was quote unquote easy for women because it was this natural extension of their maternal instincts. And so historically, our system was really predicated on this idea that teachers could be paid low wages, have limited authority, and that it wasn't something that was very hard. So, we also see economic reasons why there might be this disconnect between public opinion and the way that teachers feel unappreciated. So we have seen decades of disinvestment in teachers. And so we could say policymakers have really systematically undercompensated teachers, even as public support remains quite high. In addition, we also see that funding cuts in general to public education has resulted in pressures to cut teachers and support staff, leaving this sense of being unappreciated as support is being retracted in schools across America. Then we have the pressures related to standardized testing. 80% of teachers reported a large pressure to perform on standardized tests, and almost 50% reported that this pressure was increased post pandemic. So, overall, there is a gap between the public narrative about schools and people's lived experiences with their teachers. And I think Dr. Matthew Kraft, who's a professor of economics and education at Brown University, really explained it well. He said, when people rate the quality of public schools broadly, they give kind of middling grades. But when they rate their own individual schools, they give much higher grades. And to me, that this indicates there's a broader mistrust in public education that often becomes misdirected towards teachers. So when we don't appreciate teachers, there's real costs. So overall, we're seeing a teacher shortage with more and more teachers exiting the field due to a perceived lack of not being appreciated on a material level, on a policy level, on a systems level. And that has real implications. So the first comes down to money. It costs about $20,000 to $30,000 for districts to replace teachers. On top of that, we see significant losses in student achievement. So we see that teacher turnover affects student learning outcomes, and actually, teacher turnover reduces the effectiveness of teachers left in the school building. And when teachers leave because of not feeling appreciated, this also deepens racial and economic inequality because it's often the underfunded, high need schools that lose the most teachers. So, the takeaway here is underappreciating teachers and the resulting turnover is enormously costly, financially, educationally, and socially. But sustained appreciation, we know, is hugely beneficial. So, with sustained appreciation, we see things like higher student outcomes. It's been proven through research by Kraft and Papia that strong working conditions and professional support equal better student achievement. Meanwhile, Johnson, Kraft, and Papia found that teachers stay longer and improve school stability and professional growth when they're mentored. We also see strengthened community strength when we have appreciated teachers. We have stronger, safer, more civically engaged communities. And we've also seen that supportive environments lead to lower teacher burnout and healthier classrooms. So I think it's really important to note that when we're arguing for turning teacher appreciation into a movement, into something that's systemically embedded in our system, it's a smart investment, not just for teachers but for everyone. So that is my thesis for this webinar, that let's change teacher appreciation from a moment that we celebrate in the beginning of May to a movement. And I have some ideas for how we can do that. So, for my teacher friends out there, I have some ideas for you. So, first of all, I encourage you to learn from history. There has been tons of amazing teachers out there, like Mary McLeod Bethune, Septima Clark, Paula Fieri, Sylvia Aston Warner, who show us the amazing lineage that we belong to as educators who advocate for better conditions for ourselves and for our students. So, learn some history and really feel proud that we get to be a part of this profession and a part of amazing people who've done amazing work over the centuries. I also encourage you to gather with your teacher friends and create spaces where y'all can reflect and celebrate your year's successes. Have a dinner party, go out to eat, but give each other a chance to really share what you're proud of so we can appreciate each other. I also encourage you to combat kind of the negative narratives around teachers and education. If you feel comfortable, own your narrative on social media. Share what you're proud of so that the public can see this is really what happens in classrooms. This is really the work that teachers do. It's also important that we build supportive networks. This is, as I pointed out, a time where teachers are feeling really unappreciated. And research has really shown that when teachers have supportive colleagues who they can be honest with, who they can share how they're feeling, that this really helps buffer against burnout. And then finally, I encourage all of you teacher leaders to advocate at the policy level. Attend board meetings, join grassroots groups, and support candidates who champion public education. So appreciate yourself by really championing policies that will appreciate you on material levels, on political levels, on policy levels. So, for families and parents, one way that you can redefine teacher appreciation to make it a little bit more systemic is, again, celebrate your teachers publicly. We see a lot of stories on social media that are kind of salacious about parents or families sharing about teachers gone awry. And so that's why it's so important that the public hears these other stories about what teachers are doing great. So if you feel comfortable, post online about what you love about your child's teacher or school. Similarly, I encourage you to reach out to your child's school leadership, to their administration, and let them know about the great teachers that your child has had. Often, principals and admin, they only often hear complaints from families and parents about when teachers are not meeting expectations. So, it really could bolster that teacher as well as that admin to hear these things that you appreciate about what's going on in the building. Of course, it's really a great time during Teacher Appreciation Week to write heartfelt notes. Of course, teachers love gift cards, but really, if I was going to tell you what matters most to most people in this profession, it's really knowing that we made a difference. I actually have a box of every appreciation note I've ever received, and I read it on those hard days. And so, having your child or having you write just sincere words of thanks, it matters more than you know. And finally, I encourage parents and families be active voters. Elect leaders who support public schools, teacher pay raises, and public education funding. So, if you are a school district leader or an admin, I have some suggestions for you. One of the biggest reasons teachers cite in the literature, the research literature about teacher turnover, is their workloads. The Overall, teachers are saying they have too much work to do and not enough time. So, one way we could really make teachers feel appreciated is to lighten the workload when possible. I understand that admins are also facing increased pressure. They have lots of demands, and so I know that that is not, it's easier said than done, but I offer you to really consider if you could lighten the workload, just to know how much that would mean to teachers. If you could change a meeting into an email, if you could create on your pre and post planning days some more flexibility for work at home hours. um, I hear overwhelmingly in the research as well that teachers don't feel like they have a lot of say in what goes on in schools, and that leaves them feeling unappreciated. So, as much as possible, I encourage you to really include teachers at a seat in the table in decision making. Things like what kind of PD do they need for next year? What do they see as top priorities for the end of the school year or for the beginning of next? Really factor in teachers into decision making and let them see and know how you're doing that could make them feel really appreciated. Another big one I want to emphasize is to really respect teachers and times and boundaries. Teachers are often asked to work beyond their contract hours for free, and that unfortunately that this is the expectation due to some of those historicized um, assumptions that I talked about earlier in the presentation, that teaching is natural, that people love to do it, it's a labor of love, and so we don't have to pay teachers. And I really want to ask us to respectfully to let go of those assumptions, to know that teachers, just like any other workers, deserve to be compensated for extra contract hours. And so when we ask teachers to do unpaid labor, it really makes them feel unappreciated. I also encourage administrators, as a way to appreciate teachers, to really celebrate teachers' excellence year round. So teachers can feel really appreciated when we use places like faculty meetings, when we use things like emails to really uplift and recognize their great work consistently. So there's a culture of appreciation in your building. And then, of course, encourage you to support pro public education policies. So you have access to higher leadership that teachers don't. So advocate for your staff for more funding, for more professional autonomy, and for fair compensation. And that will make your teachers feel really, really appreciated. So, for PTAs and community organizations, one thing I think would be a great idea is to consider hosting events for teachers, organizing them, whether for the end of this school year or next, where you give some care to the caregivers. Many teachers are parents. And so it means that oftentimes they're caring for children during the day and then they're going home and they're caring for their own children. And many teacher friends have told me this leaves them really tired. And so one way we can help our teachers feel appreciated is by giving them some help. So whether that's organizing a parents' night out where maybe the children can come and hang out for an evening and watch a movie and eat some pizza while the teachers get a date night, or maybe you organize a potluck so teachers can come and get some food for their families. They don't have the pressure of cooking. I think that that would go a long way in helping teachers feel appreciated. I think another great option would be to offer some practical support. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that teachers do at the end of the year, like cleaning out their classrooms, moving classrooms if they have to. And then there's a lot of work at the beginning of the year, getting school supplies, setting it up. And so this is stuff that teachers often do by their own. It's not glamorous and it's a lot of work. And so it would make teachers feel so supported if they had their PTA and their community organizations there saying, "Hey, how can I help you clean out that classroom? Can we host a supply drive for you so you don't have to buy the glue and the construction paper on your own?" And finally, I encourage PTA and community organizations to mobilize the communities that they're in politically. Really share with these communities the importance of voting for candidates who support public education, and encourage advocacy campaigns. Use your group that you're a part of to really make sure you educate the members about the issues facing teachers and how they can vote for candidates who really will help teachers get that appreciation on a systemic level that they need. And so, in closing, I have a few calls to action. These are things that everybody can do. So we can all write op-eds or letters to the editor. These are really easy to write. They're a few hundred words. Newspapers love to publish feel-good stories. You just go to the letter to the editor or the opinion section in your local paper. They'll have directions on how to do this. And I encourage you to share positive stories about your child's teacher, about, if you are a teacher, positive stories from your own classroom. And then again, advocate for teacher raises, advocate for less workload, advocate for more school funding so that we can have those resources for teachers to feel really appreciated all year. I also encourage everybody, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whether you're an admin, reach out to your former teachers this week. Thank them for making a difference. And again, this matters more than you know. Teachers are in this game because they deeply care about humans. They deeply care about the well being of others. And so the thing that fills their cup is knowing that they did it. And it takes a long time sometimes for the seeds that we plant to kind of get watered and developed. So please, I just encourage you, reach out to some former teachers and let them know how much you appreciate them. I also encourage everyone, activate your networks. We're all members of communities, of churches, of clubs, of community boards. And again, I just encourage you, share with them these statistics about teacher pay, about teacher workload, about teacher stress. Share with them the statistics about the amazing things we know are possible when we invest in teachers and really activate them to take an interest in this cause. And finally, of course, I'm going to end on the same note every time. I just encourage everyone to vote in every election, at the school board level, at the local level, the state level, the national elections. These all shape educational policies. And I would say, if you don't see a strong pro public education candidate, consider running yourself. They say democracy is not a spectator sport. So if you're like, hey, somebody should do something about that, remember that you're somebody. And public schools really need some people who support them right now at the policy level. So, as a final reflection, teacher appreciation should not just be a moment, but it should be a movement. Because when we lift up teachers, we lift up everyone else. So, I hope before you leave this webinar, before you close this screen, you pick at least one of these actions to do. Whether that's tell a teacher thank you, whether that's taking public action, advocating for pay raises and resources and respects. Maybe you'll take narrative action, share some positive stories, or maybe make an ongoing commitment. Say, I really want to do something about this and start to think over the long term. But I want to say thank you so much, that it means a lot as a former teacher to get to do this work and to get to share this with you all. And let's turn teacher appreciation from not a moment, but to a movement.